Welcome to Curious Conundrums Mysteries Unveiled. Today we journey into the eerie realm of Bigfoot mysteries, exploring three spine-chilling encounters that have baffled and intrigued believers and skeptics alike. From the shadowy forests of California to the remote wilderness of Quebec, these tales recount harrowing confrontations with the elusive creature known as Bigfoot. As we delve into these mysterious sightings from the past, prepare yourself for a world where the line between myth and reality blurs, and the unknown lurks just beyond the reach of our understanding. Thank you for joining us on this uncanny adventure. My sighting was on Little Creek, up in the tundra, in 1981 near where Oka's kids surprised that bear a few years ago, just by the east edge of the meadow, where the creek pools up. I was with TB and Juna, and we were packing in for 4 days. I had just gotten that new .270 and the scope had not been sighted in. I decided I could do that after we ate. I paced off 100 yards and started fiddling with the scope. I panned across the meadow to where we always see big moose in the evening, but I didn't see one. Odd. As I panned back left towards the pool, I thought I saw a bear sitting in the pool. I focused in and it was no bear. I couldn't get comfortable because I was on the hillside. I moved back and up towards the trees and went around to the left. I was downwind. I came to a flat spot and resighted. Plain as day, there was Sasquatch sitting in the pond. I have never heard of one sitting in water. TB's father saw one sitting on a log at Drake's camp. I thought it might be hurt, but it just sat there. It was not too hot. The creature was surrounded by clouds of gnats, flies, and mosquitoes. It got up and moved towards the boulders about 20 feet and leaned against the boulder and just stayed there. I suppose I saw it for about 6 to 8 minutes. It rolled in the grass by the boulders, then went back into the trees and toward the east. It's real rocky there. I blood trailed a deer back there once, that's it. I could not tell if it was male or female. I would guess by looking at the boulders that it was about 7 feet tall. Thinner than most reports I have heard, but still big. Dark brown, funny sort of walk, hunched over more than man. Please ask the Sighting Institute that gets this to not use my name. I personally don't care, but I don't want the folks to think I'm exploiting them for personal gain. Report is courtesy Jack Loudbird. The Haunting at Horse Camp, a Mount Shasta encounter. I was an assistant caretaker for the Sierra Club Foundation at Horse Camp on Mount Shasta during the early 1990s. In the summer, the regular caretaker, RW, and I alternated weekdays at Horse Camp, keeping watch and helping climbers headed for the summit. On these quiet weekdays, few people lingered overnight. Most were day hikers who left before sunset. One Thursday, waiting for RW to relieve me, I planned to descend to Shasta City for some rest, a meal, and a shower. RW was habitually late, so I decided to turn in once it was clear he wouldn't arrive. The moon's faint glow meant I didn't need a flashlight to navigate. Near midnight, I was in my tent, pitched less than 100 feet northeast of the Horse Camp hut. The terrain was a mix of stones and trails leading to other campsites and paths up the mountain. After settling in, I heard footsteps crunching on the stones around the hut. Knowing RW's love for pranks, I called his name several times but received no response. I was accustomed to being alone on Shasta and rarely felt fear. When no answer came, my instincts kicked in, and the events that followed remain vivid. The footsteps grew closer to the left side of my tent. Feeling vulnerable, I gripped my ice axe and slipped out of my sleeping bag, ready to confront whatever was out there. My heart pounded, adrenaline surging. Through the mosquito mesh, I saw a massive silhouette, unmistakably not human. It moved about 30 feet in front of my tent, then stopped and turned to face me. In that moment, I didn't think Bigfoot but feared a person up to no good. I tore open the tent door and leapt out, ice axe in hand. At 6'3", I was dwarfed by this creature. We stood, frozen in a tense standoff, before it turned and slowly vanished into the trees. Sleep eluded me that night, but the spiritual and serene nature of Mount Shasta calmed my fears. My only regret was the hostility I showed, brandishing my ice axe at what I now believe was a passing, harmless being. The next morning, I searched for footprints but found only disturbed earth where something had struggled up a steep incline. There was no lingering odor, the breeze having carried it away. I completed the caretaking season without further incidents except for a run-in with some thieving Boy Scouts from Sacramento. The Monster of Dead Man's Hole, Southern California, San Diego County, California. A horrible tale from the pages of local history. Mysterious monsters are all the rage today. Best known as the abominable snowman of Tibet. Then there's the Yowie of Australia, Bigfoot of the California, the Sasquatch of the Pacific Northwest, Nessie of Loch Ness, Scotland, and the Wild Man of Hubei in China. Yet San Diego County wasn't left behind the door when the monsters were passed out. Long before San Diego's zoobies were sighted and recorded, there was the monster of Dead Man's Hole, just about as nasty as they come. It was reported long before the monsters come lately mentioned above. Dead Man's Hole is located near Oak Grove, a former stage stop of the Butterfield Line. It is located about 10 miles northeast of Warner Hot Springs. The story of the horrid events leading up to the discovery of the monster was told many years ago by James Jasper, editor and owner of the Julian Sentinel, Julian, California. When the Butterfield stage line was established, it ran by the then nameless Dead Man's Hole, then filled with clear, sparkling water. Often a stop was made to refresh men and horses before resuming the trip. Behind the hole, a canyon slices back into the steep hills, growing darker and darker and narrower as it winds back into the still wild and roadless escarpment, frowning over a pleasant valley below. As it gets deep into the mountains, the canyon walls are so steep, and its trees so thick and somber, that sunlight only penetrates to the bottom for an hour or so at noon. One bright morning in the spring of 1858, the northbound stage stopped at the hole, and the driver got out for a drink. As he leaned over the pool, he saw to his horror the partly decomposed face of a dead man bobbing gently in the water. This was the first known victim of Dead Man's Hole. As time went by, news was received in San Diego that several men, both Indian and white, had disappeared without a trace. But since people were always running away from their families or going off to seek gold, not much notice was paid to these reports. In 1870, an unnamed French sheepherder was found dead at the hole by his squaw. In 1876, a passenger lighting from the stage for a drink said he had seen a naked thing covered with long black hair staring at him from nearby bushes. When the creature saw he was discovered, he vanished down the canyon. A few years later, a man named William Blair was found strangled in the dark woods near the hole. He had influential and wealthy friends in San Francisco, and they came down to the area determined to find his murderer. But no clues were found. Later that year, the strangled body of an Indian girl was found not 200 feet from where Blair's body had been discovered. In March 1888, two hunters, Edward Dean and Charles Cox of Julian, determined to explore the dark and mysterious canyon behind Dead Man's Hole. After a hard struggle, they managed to get about a mile up the canyon through tangle of fallen logs, boulders, and underbrush. As they paused for breath, they heard a crashing nearby. Cox climbed up the rocky side of the canyon to see what was making the noise. He almost fell off in astonishment. An immense unwieldy animal, resembling a bear from the back, was taking rapid strides through the narrow defile away from the hunters. Cox said its legs were long and the creature looked something like a gorilla. Its hair was dark brown and the beast was more than 6 feet high. Cox climbed down and whispered the news to Dean. Both began to follow the thing. Cox, to arrest its progress, fired a shot in the air. At the report, the beast turned its face toward its pursuers. The face was human. Then the creature started climbing the canyon wall toward a cave opening. Cox fired, and with a terrible cry, the monster fell to the canyon floor, dead. Cautiously approaching the body, the men later reported the face was Indian, but the teeth were like a bear's fangs with pointed ends. The creature's feet were huge and covered with black hair. Fearing they would meet the monster's mate, they climbed gingerly up to the cave mouth, then entered. It was empty, but in one corner, 8 human skulls grinned from a rock ledge, while a half-consumed sheep carcass lay on the floor. In a corner, a pile of leaves and weeds indicated the creature's bed. In a report given in a San Diego newspaper of the 1888 era, Jasper said the monster's body had been placed in a wagon and taken to San Diego, where it was to have gone on exhibition the next day. But examination of later papers said nothing of the monster. Local historians pondered the question and there was no answer, since editor Jasper and his contemporaries were long dead. Then this reporter saw a glimmering of light. He noticed the date of the edition of the paper in which the story had been published. April 1st, 1888. Source: Historical Headlines, by Herbert Lockwood. Daily Transcript staff writer, August 27, 1996. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these spine-chilling Bigfoot encounters, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more mysterious and intriguing tales. Share your thoughts or your own stories in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Stay tuned for more eerie adventures and unexplained phenomena.